Hi.
Yeah, I'm Shashank, Director of Xpertifi. We are into mobile-based e-learning for corporates.
Okay.
So I have two questions. One is corporates, when they buy online programs for their employees to skill them or to improve their learning, there is that whole ROI piece. So there are two customers. One is the purchaser.
Yeah.
So that's my first question. What have you had any experience of? How do you reward them in that sense of they feel good about investing for that, because that ROI thing is in their mind. Why do I need to invest? There's so much of attrition. My employees are not loyal. Do I really need to do this? Essential learning they handle, which is, you need to know product training or anything which is going to lead to revenue thing. But anything which is so-called nice to do, or they're not sure whether there's an ROI, there's a whole conflict in their mind about investing.
Okay.
So then it becomes like a price discussion, almost like, can I buy it cheap? If it's cheap, it's still okay. It's more like then seen as a reward recognition rather than a training or skilling. So I'll come to the second one later.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, fine. So you're basically saying that as a company, if I'm buying this model for my clients, again, I always default to saying we need to do research. Usually, that's generally the way I do it, because like I said, behavioral science, there are a lot of principles, but it's about context of applying the principles. But what I can do is I can give you some ideas about where you could look for the answer, right? So for employees, for offices or organizations, obviously, how do you motivate your employees is key, right? And the whole idea about motivation and how you motivate is so important. And if you look at certain theories about motivation, I think Daniel Pink talks about 3 things that really are motivating to a person, right? One is a drive for autonomy, one is a drive for mastery, and the third one I forgot. Anyway, so I was talking about the need for mastery, right? So firstly, understand the organizational's goals, right? What is the organization as a whole? What are their core goals, right? And then understand as a product, what are you actually solving? And so for me, I kind of feel like maybe that sense of mastery for employee engagement and motivation is key. So then we say that, what does mastery come from? Mastery comes from the idea of knowing more, understanding more, and maybe you could tie those motivations together. I'm sorry, I'm trying to think of the third one. But the mastery was the one that I want to talk about. But I'm saying it's just about understanding goals, right? And sometimes goals can seem abstract, but I'm not talking vision, I'm talking goals of a company. So the goal is to have motivated employees. The app solves motivation through a sense of mastery. So how do you connect those two? Also, right, it's not about numbers. It's about what is the story you're actually telling the company and what is your anchor. So in behavioral science, you always say that every decision is based on an anchor of some sort. Right? If you anchor to this is the metric, they will anchor to, okay, but give me a lower cost. This is the cost, lower cost. If you anchor to mastery, that's what they're going to discuss. I hope that answered your question. Yes.
The second is the person learning the course itself. So as you mentioned correctly, that Coursera has a 90% dropout rate.
Yeah.
These are paying guys, or most cases. They're still not able to complete the online course. They went, they found the course, they're motivated. Now take a case of a corporate employee. The company has kind of thrust something down their throat, right? They're not paying for it. And I've seen that, worked in corporate 23 years. It's very difficult to get them to complete even mandatory compliance kind of thing where, you have to chase it the last minute, 100 reasons I'm not well, platform doesn't work, link doesn't work. They just don't do it.
Rationalizations.
So, yeah. Now you're actually giving them a course which you think is going to be good for them, useful for them. A huge motivation challenge for them to get them to complete it, or they see it probably from a lens that, the company is telling me to do it, why should I do it? Or where is my skin in the game in this? Why should I? So that challenge of how do we improve the completion rates when we are sponsored by an organization for their own employees. So it's free, but, unless there is some,
It's interesting because you immediately talked about one thing while you were asking the question as well, right? It's coming from the organization, and you are telling them what course is good for them. But what is the employee's goal here? What does he want to do? What does he want to learn about? Why does he want to learn? Does he want to learn because he wants to get a promotion? Does he want to learn just because he's curious? Does he want to learn because he wants to do his job better currently? Again, right? Once you understand the user's goals, you're able to better give them. And again, right? Sometimes you say that I've understood the user's goals based on so many data points. But the point is that the user doesn't know that you've made your product so intelligent that they're actually doing that. So sometimes actually asking a person to articulate the goal firstly makes the person think about their goals, which is key. And then secondly, like thinks that, oh, this is going to solve my goal because it's asked me for that. Right? And sometimes that's another thing that we deal with a lot of companies, right? We're like, this is such an intelligent product. It takes into account so many different things and gives you an option. But I'm like, the user doesn't know that. How do they know that all of these aspects are going into you making this suggestion to me? They don't know that. So you're actually doing a disservice to yourself because you're not making the value tangible to them. So again, sorry, going back to your example. So one is that, what is the user's goals? Me, why am I want to do this course, right? And then you can say, these courses are suggested to you. Make me pick my course. Because again, I'm showing commitment by picking my own course and then starting it. And then you can use a few other principles to make them start their journey. But I think goal alignment is always the first challenge to actually start. And then also, make sure that you understand that they also have a job. So when do they actually supposed to do this course, right? Therefore, the course can't be too burdensome, right? So how do you ensure that you actually make their expectations about the course as like, it's not like school. You don't have to like spend so many hours. Again, when we think of learning, we think of school. How do you change that? These are mental models, like strongly held beliefs. So how do you change the mental model of what does learning mean?